message was clear.
The task of my squadron was to move to valley to further strengthen the air defense cover and also to keep Pakistani Air Force at bay. The formidable MiG-29, armed with beyond visual range missiles, moved at a short notice to the valley. Our task was to provide air defense cover to our ground forces and to retain favorable air association over the objective area. This enabled MiG-21, MiG-27, Jaguar and Mirages to operate freely and engage their target. After air recce missions, the strike mission was flown under air defense cover provided by MiG-29s. On at least 2 occasions, F-16 was sighted flying close to line of control. We could identify them from their radar signature. On both occasions, they were successfully chased away by us inside their border.
MiG-29s also undertook filming missions of Tiger Hill, in which they picked up a newly set up enemy camp that was then neutralized within 4 hours. Constantly keeping a vigil over Kargil and Batalik, MiG-29s alone flew over 300 missions during Op Safed Sagar.
I've just come back from a successful 4-aircraft mission. We got one hostile track close to the border and we chased him across the line of control. This is getting really exciting. I hope next time he comes a little closer.
With the BVR capabilities of MiG-29s keeping the Pakistani Air Force out of the Kargil war, Jaguars fitted with Vicon cameras were streaking along the target areas.
Black formation cleared for takeoff. After takeoff, turn right heading 020, traffic crossing above you 2.5 kilometers.
Flying often even in marginal weather conditions, their pilots were trying to do a job that was akin to searching for a needle in a haystack. Amazingly, they often picked up the infiltrators and filmed them from low levels, sometimes from heights of just 500 feet, picking them up in their cameras and returning to base.
Tiger formation, clear to land. 1 aircraft, end of runway.
Flew over the Kargil, over the mission. The task was to film the intruders, their bunkers, their ammunition depots, pinpoint the exact position and give it to the army for the future attack.
With the help of pictures, specialists would then work out the coordinates for pinpointing targets for strike aircraft to come in and neutralize enemy positions or pass on the same films to the army, who would then launch their attacks accordingly.
Coming out of this way, and just to the right of us is the target.
The stage was set, and with the decision to marshal the strike potential of air power taken, the IAF launched its aircraft, firing the first shots in anger since the 1971 Bangladesh war. Despite initial apprehensions and reverses of employing air power at these high altitudes, for the first time in India's history, the IAF was being used as a decisive weapon of war.
We, the sword arms, look after the air defense of the valley from Siachen Glacier to Udhampur sector in south. On 26 May 1999, the squadron was inducted into Operation Safed Sagar and flew the first mission over Toroling, which was led by then the CEO of the squadron, Wing Commander Randhawa. And on the same day, the CRC mission was also flown from the squadron, which was led by Flight Lieutenant Abhyankar.
In every threat there lies an opportunity, and the IAF found itself pounding live targets instead of the usual peacetime range work. Captured war diaries taken from Pakistani dead subsequently bore ample testimony to the effectiveness of most air attacks, the supply camp at Manthodalo being a case in point. The major task of the IAF in the Kargil war was to inflict serious damage to the Pak intruders, to hasten their withdrawal and to support our attacking ground forces. The Mirage 2000 along with the MiGs rewrote the classical doctrines of air war in the mountains. Cameras aligned to the laser beams guiding the bombs onto the targets bring out the stark and deadly accuracy of these weapons that could even neutralize designated bunkers. The versatility of helicopters made them an obvious platform for operations in such terrain. Mi-17 helicopter units, armed with rocket pods, were inducted into Op Safed Sagar around mid-May. In its ground attack role, the Mi-17s took on the well-dug-in enemy in 4 aircraft formations. Generally, the areas that they struck were Tololing and then Point 5140. Despite the altitude and terrain, most of the attacks were quite successful, with the helicopter pilots picking out enemy positions and sangars among the boulders.
From the IP, one would start commencing the climb, which was required for putting in rocket attacks. 57mm rockets were used. These were things which had sort of never been done before.
With the IAF hitting targets from the air and dominating the skies over Kargil, over 500 counter-surface force missions were flown. The Indian Army painstakingly evicted the raiders from seemingly impossible heights, often at the point of the bayonet. The Kargil War, like all other wars, left in its wake the horror of the dead, the wounded and the maimed. Many lived through the ordeal only because of timely and swift evacuation from the combat zones, as helicopter pilots, both of Army Aviation and the Air Force, were always on call for this demanding task. In relative terms, the Kargil war was short and swift. The combined might of the Indian armed forces succeeded in evicting the enemy in ignominy from seemingly impossible heights within a short span of time. However, the undeclared war further to the north on the Siachen Glacier continues.